Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. How are you
Hey.
doing?
Hey. Good. How are you?
Doing all right. Here we are again. I feel like we just did.
I know. It's time is moves very strangely these days. It feels
It,
like
de-
days ago.
yeah, it definitely does. Things that happened yesterday feel like a lifetime ago, and then other things that happened a lifetime ago feel like, yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
So
Every
odd.
day is kind of the same over here.
Yeah, I keep running into the ground, like I keep thinking of Groundhog Day, which
Yeah.
is just it's such a great movie. There's so much to pull out of that. It really makes you think of everything about life. And
Yes.
it comes up often in analogies or whatever we're talking about. It's like I can either reference the
Yes.
Terminator, the Matrix,
Right.
or Groundhog Day.
Right. We just watched Palm Springs recently, which is sort of
Ooh.
similar.
Oh, I'm not even familiar with that.
Um, it came out. I think it was supposed to be a theatrical release, but it was like beginning of the pandemic. It was Adam Sandberg.
Oh, okay. I'm
He,
looking it up right now, which I mean, anything
it's
he's in.
good. I think it's on Hulu or Amazon or one of those.
Comedy, fantasy, mystery. Huh. Oh man.
And it has
All
that
right.
one of like a similar plot in a way, but I won't say too much. It's
Oh,
a
okay, cool.
good
I'm gonna watch
pandemic
this.
watch.
Yes. Oh, it's on Hulu. Shoot. I don't know if I don't have Hulu, but I know somebody who does.
So that's all you need, just a password.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
how everybody does it, I think. There's
I
like
think
10 people that have Netflix and
Yeah.
Hulu.
Yeah, Netflix has kind of gotten smart to it where they like track how many devices are using the same account and they limit
Oh, they
that.
do?
Yeah, and they've been doing that for years now.
Oh.
So they've kind of half figured it out, but you can still coordinate and say, "Hey, here's my password. Don't watch Netflix between 8 and 10." You could
Oh, if you're all on it.
watch
Oh, that's interesting.
yes.
Because we
Yeah.
usually watch it late at night. It's my mother-in-law's
Yeah.
password.
Yeah,
She watches it
and I
early.
can't remember how many devices, but you could probably have like I think it's like you could have
I
three
think that's all we
devices
have.
active at the same time.
Okay.
So, but
Okay.
you could probably have 100. I don't think they're tracking how many different devices or I think it's
Okay.
just how many are actively using that account at the
Okay.
same time. So, which I think is a
We'll
good
see.
indicator that these guys are watching three movies at the same time. Does
How
that
big is
seem
her house?
suspicious? Oh my god.
So how many
So,
people are usually show up?
the last one there were I feel like there were like 7 or 8. It wasn't and it, which was nice. It was easy to
I like
kind of
that.
have a more intimate conversation. And man, I've totally spun myself out on this topic. It's I did, I went down the rabbit hole. I didn't know how many
Okay.
artists, famous artists. I mean, it's pretty much like every freaking artist in the art history books had some sort of handicap, disability,
Right.
limitation, obstacle, whatever it is, and whether it was physical or mental, like, and so I just started writing it down. I'm like, this list is
Oh, that's
it,
cool.
it's crazy. I mean, and you kind of named most of a lot of them, but I think the thing that's interesting is whether they're handy. I hate using the word handicap. Like I don't know what else, like limitation or I don't know, obstacle. But I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it is
Sure.
technically it's a handicap. It's just I hate that word. But
Yeah, I'd say even just like for strabismus is actually not a disability. I drive a car.
yeah,
You cannot
yeah,
you cannot collect disability actually
right,
on it.
right,
So
interesting.
that kind of does. That's like there is a line in the sand. It's like,
Yeah, and so there were a lot of lines where it was like really hard to draw. As I was thinking about all this stuff because it's like if a person was born with whatever condition, then they're praised by historians that they were able to either overcome
right.
or actually embrace. Which that's part of the conversation I want to have is like the difference between embracing your limitation versus overcoming it. I think overcoming it to me means you're finding a way to mask what the issue is, whereas if you're embracing it, you're acknowledging it, and you're actually maybe showing people that you have it, but you're figuring out a way to share it with everybody. Hopefully I'll remember how to, I'll say it like that
I
again.
think
But
it ties in really well with the time situation, so that time limitation, that's a limitation too. You know, that
and that's what I did. I wrote down there are physical limitations, there are mental limitations, and then there's circumstantial. And so I started, I mean, that's where all the mindset stuff falls into. It's like, it's time for sure. It's space. Like, do I not have, I can't work big anymore. I have to work small. So what am I going to do? Or all the stuff, you know, the fear and self-doubt and excuse me, all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, limitation is, it's certainly broadly defined, and I don't want to just, I want to, I think, start talking about, just because it's interesting, like the more the visual, like some of the visual impairments, and you know, the artists that experienced that, and then there were some others that weren't visual. Well, like Francis Bacon, I didn't know he had something called dysmorphopsia, which is, this is crazy. It's when he sees, and I don't understand it completely, but the phrase he uses, images appear constantly changing. And when you read that, you're like, holy shit, that's like his style. I mean, that's like what paintings look like. Everybody is in motion, and they're creepy, and they're deformations of faces and bodies. I mean,
like, what does that mean to experience? I wonder what that actually, so does that mean,
that's what I don't understand, is like, I don't understand what the daily, like, what is the daily experience? It does. I mean, it sounds like you'd probably have vertigo constantly. How do you?
That's probably where the alcoholism came in, I'm guessing.
I'm sure. And then I might have mistyped it. I swear I copied and pasted, but like Toulouse-Lautrec, his condition obviously was like bone density or whatever, and it, you know, stunted his growth and development.
I love that movie as a kid. What was that movie called?
It was well, there was Moulin Rouge.
That was after, though, like in the 70s, 60s movie. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I
love that. I love that movie when I was a kid. I remember watching that with my dad, actually, oddly.
And then you know, one of my favorite artists, and I always mispronounce his name, but I'll say it the way that you're supposed to say it, I guess. Egon Schiele. I always say Egon Schiele. It's like,
what did he have?
So he had something called dystonia, which caused extreme muscle contractions, and maybe led to abnormal postures. And when I read abnormal postures, I'm like, that's his style. Like everything is, you know, like weird poses, and like so it's really interesting. Like I was trying to
1952.
There you go.
Sorry. What?
Yeah, and that's an old.
I did not know that. He had such a tragic life. It overshadowed that, because you always hear about he fought in the war, and then he ended up having a girlfriend who was like 14 years old, and he got run out of town.
Right.
And then he died. They both died from the pandemic.
Oh, see, I don't even know if I knew that. Oh, Jesus.
And she died first, and he knew he was going to die, and he was still making art.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, and then that's okay.
And he was only like, he was like 28 or something, 32 or something like that, when he was relatively young still.
God, yeah, that's totally tragic. And you know, the thing that's interesting too is like all the impressionists. It seems like collectively they were like, if you were an impressionist, you probably had a visual impairment. I mean, they just went down the list. It was like Monet. Monet is the obvious one. Like I'm familiar with that one, but Mary Cassatt, Cezanne, Matisse, Renoir, Van Gogh, O'Keeffe. I know she's not, you know, in that category, but like
that's too.
Yeah, so she had macular degeneration, and there was a funny quote because she started using, she resorted to using, like, hiring assistants to help her paint,
Right.
but she would never give them credit for any of that, because,
Yeah.
as the quote was, they were no more valuable than a palette knife.
Oh, shit.
Which is
Wow.
like, oh, well, that's very kind of you to.
Yeah, through 2021 goggles, that doesn't look so good.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Check your privilege, George O'Keefe.
Yeah, God, it's pretty bad. And then the thing that was really confusing is just like, okay, Rembrandt has stereo blindness, but then you read and it's like Da Vinci had exotropia, which is, that there are the two versions of strabismus.
Right.
I think it's eso, where they point inward,
SO
and
and XO.
exo. Yeah. So I was like, what is the freaking difference between strabismus and stereo blindness? I know stereo blindness is it's the condition, like describing the issue with the eyes, but strabismus is like what's actually. It was just, the distinction was unclear, and so I think what I figured out is there are three causes of stereo blindness. One
Okay.
is strabismus, one is lazy eye, which I don't know what the medical term is for that, and then the other one is,
Same thing, I feel like.
yeah, and then the third one is there's a non, where did I even write that? There's a non-strabismic binocular vision dysfunction.
Okay.
So it's like,
You can
I don't.
appear normal.
Yeah, it seems like I think what it is, yeah, it's probably similar but different. The eyes are aligned, but for whatever
But you
reason, they're
don't,
still not operating in unison.
which does seem to be an easier life in a way, because at
Mm.
least when we are so in tune with faces, if there is anything
Yes,
off, it is a big problem for people. Ask me.
totally.
I can tell
Yeah.
you this. But I think, like, I've read a lot of data that says that people with strabismus actually have like higher suicide rates, addiction rates, social anxiety, like all kinds of things that are
Yeah.
not really enough weight when it comes to like who gets surgery and how much it costs and that type of thing.
Yeah.
I do feel like I did dodge a lot of bullets in that arena for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
I feel pretty lucky. I read other people's like firsthand accounts of feeling really ostracized, and I felt that a little, but not really. Not
Yeah.
really until I moved to LA. And like
Yeah.
everybody's super into the way people look here. It's a little bit more of a big deal.
Yeah.
But it really has ruined people's lives, actually, it seems like.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I there was a study I was reading, and it was like done in Poland or something, and I think the conclusion was that kids would ostracize, or they were reluctant to include other children with visual impairment. They were less likely to include those kids versus kids with a mobility issue. A mobility issue is easier to understand what they can and can't do, whereas a visual one, I think it's like you don't understand it, and so you just avoid it, which is
exactly
unfortunate.
But it's funny, I've experienced this very strange thing where when people get to know me, they don't see it.
Oh, interesting.
Like my husband does not see it. He's like, I guess you have it. I guess, like, he doesn't see it. And so I grew up in a kind of a small-ish town. I grew up in Monterey. Like,
Yeah.
I went to school with all the same kids from kindergarten through high school. And so like nobody noticed it after a while. It just like evaporated.
Dang,
so
that's really
I
fascinating.
think it helped me a lot. If I'd grown up in a city, I think I would have been not as fortunate.
Wow.
But nobody really ever said anything about it. Once in a while, like new kids I'd get that thing. Are you looking at me? Or are you looking at something?
Yeah.
That followed me through my life. But like,
yeah,
not more than that. I know, not really.
Huh.
So I kind of grew up confident about it. Like I didn't think it was a problem.
Right.
You know?
And that was the other distinction that I was really trying to think about, is like whether, like, if you just don't know, if you were born with something and you don't know what the difference is, I mean, there is an advantage to that versus somebody that acquires a condition. And it's just it's interesting because I feel like that explained, your initial response was like, well, I don't really see myself as being like, I wasn't like bravely creating in the name or in spite of adversity and like,
Yeah.
all that. And then that's like, I totally understood what you were saying. And I didn't know, it took me a little bit to figure out like, okay, I felt bad because I felt like I was making an issue out of making a big deal out of something that doesn't feel like a big deal to you. So I started feeling a little weird about it. But then I realized, really, I just want this. I'm using this as an opportunity to talk about limitations in general for people.
Yes.
And I want people to reframe instead of when they encounter a limitation or an obstacle, instead of thinking, okay, how do I overcome this, and thinking of like impossible solutions, there might be something else, which might be, why don't I just go with it? Like,
Right.
let's just
Integrate it into your personality.
let's just integrate it and not fight it. And then there's that line. It's like, well, when do you recognize that you shouldn't try to fight against? You should like don't totally try to derail yourself in the name of overcoming a particular obstacle. Like, recognize the point at which it's like, well, what's the easiest, what approach requires the least amount of energy, and that's probably the one where you're embracing it.
And also just learning not to take on other people's energy. I'm not going to say it has not affected me. Definitely people have come at me over the years in ways that are super rude. So it's like, I'm not going to say that that's never happened. People have said, I thought when I first met you, you were like retarded. Like, I've had people say things like that to me. So it's like, well, how do you not take on people's energy and go, well, you're on your path, and this conversation is making me uncomfortable. Over there or whatever, like, just don't, it's not your problem, So, but definitely people come at me. I will say this too, always men.
Man.
It's like, men want to tell you what's wrong with your face as a woman. They will tell you. So I'm not going to say it hasn't affected me. And also, I didn't drive till I was almost 30.
Oh, wow.
So that is another aspect. I was actually thinking this week, how has it affected my life? I really don't teach much because, when you're teaching the basics, I've had to teach, I can, but it's like teaching perspective to people. I'm like, I'll read you this thing about it, and if you get it, that's awesome. But I can't really tell you how to do it,
Yeah,
so
and then
teaching is not available to me after grad school. I didn't really want to teach anyway, to be honest. I don't really like being in school that much. So
gotcha. Yeah.
What was
refreshment?
Not driving.
Refreshment.
And I finally did. When I moved to LA, I ended up, actually, when I moved to LA, I did not drive for a year. And that's where this work kind of started coming out of, because I was like getting lost a lot, and I felt like overwhelmed being in this big city. So I would try to like go up and look out, and try to kind of get a sense of where I was. And then there was a bus strike, and I just started graduate school in Long Beach. And so I had to learn to drive. And I hired I just went to a driving school, and I like drove on the freeway with them for a while and got comfortable. It's fine,
Yeah.
So.
Well, kids these days, I mean, some of them choose to not even get their license until they're 30. I don't even understand it, because I remember being so excited to
that freedom.
16.
Yeah.
It's like back then it was.
I didn't feel comfortable. Like spatially driving. I was like, this is scary, and other things moving around you. It was just kind of like, I remember like taking driver's ed and all that, and just like feeling really uncomfortable, like not. But today you have Uber and Lyft and all that. Like, you don't need to drive. People are just driving
it is interesting. If you're in certain cities, you absolutely do not have to own a car and drive around. So,
I actually don't drive at night much. I'll take Lyft during the normal times instead. I don't like driving at night. My night vision's not the best, actually. So I do avoid that a little bit.
Hey, Dad. I'm on a call because yes.
Can I play a little bit of game?
We're not playing any games.
No.
You want to say hi to
game.
Susan? This is Susan, and look,
Yeah,
this is
say hi.
Marley. There
Hey,
you are. I am sorry, I banged your knee.
how you doing?
Wave. Oh, she can't. Oh, here, look. Here.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear? Can you say
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Okay, why don't you go back down and hang out with Uncle, and then I'll be back down in a little bit, okay? I'm gonna.
What did you say?
She just said hi, but I have the earbuds now. Okay, I'll be
Wait,
down a
what
little
did
bit.
it say?
She said bye.
Oh, bye.
All right, Ladybug. I'll see you later. Okay. Oh boy, we got some dots. So I don't even. I mean, it's 10. It's 7:10. I had a few people. Hey, Mara, I gotta talk. Yes.
Can I have that and Batman?
Yeah. Hold on one sec.
Sure.
And
No
then
one's
you
here.
have to let me be on the call, okay? Here's Batman. Okay. But you have to be quiet. You have to be. No, I'm gonna leave that one up there. You get one. Oh my gosh.
So cute.
I had a few people say they were going to be on the call, but whatever. The way that I see these is if nobody shows up, we're still having
Yeah.
a conversation, and then I'm
Totally.
still recording it, and then people watch the replay. And to be honest, as uncertain as I was about like, okay, how, what are we going to talk about, and where is this going to go? I mean, like it's already been really interesting to hear. I think every time you share some other experience or insight, it's like, it's just it's interesting and it's fascinating. And
Yeah,
and
I never think it would be, I guess, because I'm just so kind of in my
Marley
zone of making things.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to think like this sort of bigger picture stuff. You don't really think about it anymore.
Yeah. And the thing that one of the things that I was also juggling was, can you remind me what I'm closing the door here. So, okay. Can you remind me what your experience was in grad school? Like when you were talking about your professor that was saying like, hey, I can't really read the space in your drawing very well.
That was more undergrad. Like
Oh,
when
that
I
was
was
undergrad.
learning,
Okay.
like doing still lives and like doing perspectival stuff. Like
Okay.
it was, I was like an okay student, I would say. I wasn't really, a great student with all the kind of skill and drill stuff. And that's what I was saying. Like most people after graduate school started teaching those types of classes as like a day job. And I was like, that's not for me for a variety of reasons. But a lot of it was because like, I can't really teach things that I never mastered. But it was good for me to do it anyway, to really like train my eye to slow down and like really look at something and really like, those were great. And, you go to like a program like UCLA for undergrad, you're not going to do any of that stuff. They don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not about like, that's really old fashioned, I think, for a lot of programs. But it's still, I think it's really valuable. I'm glad I did it. I think people should spend a year doing that when you're starting out and then branch off and go do your own thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But I went to junior college for a few years and then transferred to San Francisco Art Institute. And when I got there, I didn't really do those types of exercises as much as I did in junior college. But junior college was like mostly that. And then last 2 years of undergrad were sort of San Francisco Art Institute, which actually just closed during the pandemic. They're not accepting students anymore. But it's really one of the few art schools with no design school part of it. So it's just fine art. And they really taught you to sort of get on your path. Like, what's your vision? What's important to you? Start making the work, in a way that a lot of other programs didn't. And so that kind of skill and drill part ended there, really. So I did that for a few years. But yeah, there was a lot of like, what's the object? What's the space behind the object? And I remember like really struggling with how to communicate kind of these basic concepts.
Yeah.
Just feeling really frustrated by that. And I remember like I was living at home, working like a pizza job and going to junior college and just being so frustrated. My mom was like, but don't you want your art to be different than everybody else's? Isn't that the point?
See,
but just like that need of like wanting to do a good job and wanting to be a good student,
Right.
And that just wasn't going to be my path,
Yeah. The thing
yeah.
that was interesting
Right.
was reading about these artists like Rembrandt and Da Vinci and El Greco. I love El
Oh, I
Greco.
love Logoreci.
And well, I'll get to, there was an interesting one about him, but they were kind of saying like having strabismus or having stereoblindness is actually an asset if you are an artist, because you're already seeing the three-dimensional world with a certain amount of flatness to it, and so it's already, you're already one step closer to translating that onto a two-dimensional surface.
Yeah, I
And
can see
so
that.
so I was like, remembering what you said about your experience with your professors, and then trying to reconcile it with that, like, is this something that sounds good? Like,
I
or
mean, I feel like if you don't have a bad case of it, that might be the case.
right.
But I feel like I'm missing like half the markers of depth. So it's like that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe they were missing less than that. And they were saying Da Vinci, he could flip back and forth.
Yeah, that's what
That seems great. That seems like that should be an evolutionary sort of visual.
Oh, totally. Yeah, because you're
like,
yeah.
Right? I mean, that seems like an extra tool,
Well,
but
and then
that's not for me. For
yeah,
sure.
and then the other thing I felt kind of silly about is like, one of the articles is like, well, in art school, when your teacher asks you to close one eye to look at what you're drawing, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't even like, yeah, I remember doing that. I don't really do that anymore, but
No.
I had forgotten that, and I didn't, that just didn't occur to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, so now I get the point of the
Yeah,
area
right.
of blindness.
But
So
the thing is that you can go back to the full vision too. It's like that
right.
flipping back and forth is kind of
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm like, this sounds
I
convenient
think that
according to
yeah,
the author of this
yeah,
article, but
it's not
it
lived
sounds like somebody
experience.
that doesn't, yeah, they clearly haven't experienced this. So the El Greco, here's a great example. El Greco. So he elongates all the
Yeah.
figures. So he is known for having an astigmatism. That's fact.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But here's where the theory. So somebody came up with a theory that his astigmatism made everything that he saw, like the image on his lens, was distorted horizontally.
Okay.
And so yeah, everything was stretched horizontally. And so what he was doing is, when he was drawing, he was compensating in the other direction vertically, so that what he finally saw was normal. So he was like,
Oh,
he was
interesting.
drawing to offset his astigmatism,
Yeah.
but that sounded, again, man, this sounds like a great theory, man. Wow, like,
Yeah.
congrats for figuring that out. Totally false,
Right.
because they figured
Oh,
out,
okay.
they saw a lot. I think they analyzed a bunch of his work, like from a certain period of time, and he was elongating certain figures and not in others, and others were perfectly rendered.
Oh,
And so it was a stylistic choice. That,
okay. I was
he
thinking
was
maybe
doing
he's
it.
overcorrecting too.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows if there was maybe something like, maybe that could have led to it, but I think it was maybe over exaggerated, the study that
Okay.
was, or the analysis. But so that's why I started thinking, like, God, all these people looking back and studying all the masters, it's like I think they're trying to look for something that's like a good story, or like a cool theory on
Right.
something. And so
Right.
that kind of bugged me. And then the other thing that I started kind of feeling shitty about was like Monet and some of the other, Degas. It's like their later works are all criticized as being inferior to their earlier work, because their vision was
Oh,
starting to go. Their
okay.
their color palettes were getting muddy,
Oh, I've heard that too. Yeah. People
and
had like
dull and
what
broad,
do you
like,
call this? They
well, there
probably
was
had a what do you call it? Where you have they have
glaucoma.
surgery.
Yeah, and
The other one,
myopia, cataracts. Yeah, so Mary Cassatt had that. Monet had cataracts.
Can you imagine the surgery for that then? You don't want
No,
that.
I have no idea. Yeah, I can't even imagine that. No. So I thought what was real shitty was just like, I understand the comparison. Like, okay, his like whoever we're talking about, like their work, it shows, their struggle in dealing with their condition. But to compare, I just didn't like the whole comparison
Kind
because
of
it's
sounds
like,
kind of market based.
yeah, and and it's like the way I'm thinking about it is, holy shit, like this person they created every day or whatever. They just kept creating until the end. And I think Monet got to a point where he would number his paints on he would put them on his palette in the same order, and he wasn't even really seeing hue at that point. So he would just know, like, this is red, I'm gonna use this. And it's like, wow, man, talk about committed to your craft or your body work. Yeah. And so I that's what I was focusing on. I was like, wow, this is so cool that they just kept going.
It'd be amazing to see. Like, I love a retrospective. There's nothing better than a retrospective where you see that, the main work, the important work, and then you see that sort of like slowing down in life, or like how the focus changes. I love that. I really love that. That's one of my favorite type of exhibits to go see.
Yeah, and so it is interesting because it's like, here's what I would throw out is which artists are celebrated for their later works and which ones are not. I would imagine most people are celebrated for the work they do in their prime.
It's kind of ageist, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder if that'll change.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, things are changing. It seems like that doesn't sit right these days.
Yeah, no, I think it's crap because I mean, yeah, you might have a condition that develops, but you also have life experience, and to your subject matter. There are a lot of other things to look at than your technical ability and how much detail are you rendering.
Right.
It's like, it's not about that. And I mean, that's all. I think as you get older, you realize, like, well, shit, I spent 10 years, my method of creating was so labor intensive, and like, I don't think the reward is there. Let's find some shortcuts.
Struggle with that a lot.
I mean,
Talk about limitations. I mean, time limitation is a big one, and that making really labor intensive work, you will not get paid for that work. I mean, you can't expect it. There's no way, So it's like, you have to kind of decide how to structure your life in a way where you can do other things to pay for that type of time. You know?
Yeah, totally.
That's definitely a limitation, though. I've felt that a lot, especially with those pieces that I really want to be making, that those sort of, I call them like vibrational kind of op-arty pieces I've been making. So I haven't made those in a year now, because I've been doing these public art projects, and I've been kind of in design and project management.
Right.
But which is amazing, and I love doing these projects. Like, do not get me wrong. But I also want to go back and do that work. These projects are going to help fund that work.
Gotcha.
Too. So there is this kind of, you have to, I think that, like, knowing that it's okay to hit pause on things too.
Yeah, sure.
Part of the process. It's not like, oh, this is the end of it or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just time to hit pause, and then it'll be time to go back to it too. Hopefully. I don't know. I think maybe end of summer.
All right.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I was still thinking about your the floor that you're working on, and man, I want to see pictures of that.
That's the focus. Yeah. And I'm also doing a project in San Diego for a brand new fire station.
So cool.
Yeah. Man. I'm doing that, and that's not for, like, that's gonna be, the building's not built, so it's like a couple of years away. But the floor is gonna be installed in like August, September. It'll be open, I think, in the fall.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Phoenix, Southwest Terminal.
Well, I mean, the good news is if you live on the West Coast, chances are you're flying through Phoenix at
Yeah.
some point.
I've flown through there a lot, actually. They
Yeah.
have a lot of floors. I think they have like 12 art floors that are all terrazzo
Oh.
tile.
Oh,
That's
wow.
kind of their main public art kind of exhibition space on the floors, because they have these giant hallways. You know, it's like it is actually, the airport's right near downtown, but the airport's has these like big kind of long hallways that go from like security to the gates that have these beautiful floors. So yeah.
Man,
And speaking of limitations, I've been designing it from 120 square foot room.
Oh man.
That's been total experience too. It's 10,000 square
space.
feet.
Jeez.
Yeah.
How are you doing it piece, but like, yeah, how are you even planning it? Are you picking one piece
I've
like one
never done
section
it
at a
like this
time?
before. Usually, yes. Well, yes, I have it broken down to about 6 sections.
Okay.
And I can't talk too much about the design,
Yeah, sure.
But usually what I would do is make paintings or drawings of the entire design. And there was just not time for that for this project. So I did make paintings for them. And then I had to alter the paintings digitally. So scans, and then go back in with a Wacom tablet and kind of like shift things around and build out certain parts. And I have not designed like that before. It was great though, actually.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But I usually don't use digital anything when I'm designing. I mean, I scan stuff, but usually everything is kind of analog and then scanned in and then sent off, and that's it. But it was actually great doing it this way. So and it was probably a shortcut. So I probably will do it in the future.
Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, I think shortcuts are interesting. I mean, just the idea of trying to figure out shortcuts. I just got an art book from somebody I follow on Instagram, and she talked about that, and she kind of said once she had kids, but before that she did a lot of cross hatching, and she's a figurative artist, and so she did cross hatching. It was really time consuming, and then she had kids, and so she actually changed her style to accommodate that. And she also changed her medium. Like I think she worked in a lot of different mediums, but she just kind of in the last couple of years focused on pencil drawings. And I didn't know what that shift was, but I started kind of picking up on that, because when she would do live whatever, like Instagram lives, her daughter would usually be near her, and so I was like, oh, I think I get why you're doing pencil drawings, because you just can't, you got to keep it easy, you got to be able to
light on your feet,
work on something for a half an hour or whatever. And
so
I thought that was kind of cool, and that goes back to, I mean, we were talking about that last week in our discussion. So
the setup.
Yeah.
You have to have a nimble setup. That helps.
Totally. But yeah, I think I do think the idea of the one thing I wanted to hear from other people, and I'm going to try to hopefully get this conversation or continue the conversation. Like I want to hear from other people about whether they have any sort of physical or, and I know this is a hard question to ask people, but like, do you have a physical or mental, emotional obstacle, or again, a circumstantial obstacle to creating? And I usually try to ask that question when I survey people, like joining my Facebook group, like, what is your biggest obstacle to drawing? And usually everybody says time, that's the universal, but I know it goes deeper than that. Cause like for me, I think time's like the catch-all, but really it's like, I think there's a lot. It is. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to,
I mean, I have to say, I feel like just I've never talked about my eye issues in relation to my art ever. And I didn't actively avoid it, but it's not something I felt interested or comfortable discussing. But times are changing, and people are more open about talking about things that they wouldn't have been maybe even 5 years ago. So
I totally agree.
I don't think it's a bad question. Maybe it's a safe space for people to actually say, oh, I have depression or
yes,
whatever.
which is, I mean, absolutely. I think that ends up. I think that, I mean, that's what I've found out in the some of the business groups that I've been part of over the last year is like what they're telling everybody is to just like, you have to just be yourself and embrace all of the fuck ups and mistakes that you're going to make every day, and just keep going. There's obviously there was a lot of mindset stuff in that.
Authenticity is making a comeback,
but for sure, because that's what people connect with.
Yeah, I mean, pandemic, it's so great seeing your daughter come in. Like, I love seeing people's pets on Zoom calls, like people's dogs will be down, like the cat will jump up on the computer, like people's kids come in. It's great. It's like, it's life.
I think right. I think we were finally. I think in the last year, there's definitely a big shift in acceptance of like if I mean, I probably would have been. I would have had the same response pre-pandemic. Like, I mean, there's nothing I could do.
Sure.
There's nothing I could do. So, like, just roll with it. But I mean, I feel like, seeing enough Zoom calls where it's like kids are going ape shit in the background.
And a lot of people are muted, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Too. Like a lot of call, and then they'll unmute, and you'll hear all this kind of like sort of chaos. But I love it. I don't.
I do think it's more accepting now and kind of the norm.
Which is this idea. I mean, are we ever going to get dressed up again? Like, we're probably not.
I hope not. I never had to. I was lucky, and I've never been in a situation where I like really had to dress up. Thank God. Oh man.
I've had a lot of Zoom presentations during the pandemic, and I've done them all while wearing my slippers. I'm like, I don't think I can go back the other way.
That's awesome. But what I would. Yeah, I mean, I am really curious to find out from other people what their, what are the limitations that they face, and how do they deal with it? And then that big question of, do you try to overcome it or do you try to embrace it? And that's the hard. I think that's the point where something. If you figure out how to embrace something, I really think that is where the like magic can happen.
I think that's more kind of a postmodernist response, I would say, because like modernism, I feel like I got into art because it's like this idea of freedom, and anything was possible, you could do anything. And then I remember like studying all the modernists, and it's like, art has to be this, art has to be that. And I thought, oh, these guys are mostly guys, they're such a skill.
I mean, totally.
I feel like overcoming is kind of a 20th century response in a way. And embracing is more of a 21st century response. That would be my.
I think that's a good. I would agree. Like I was just reading. Well, this one you could interpret either way, but like, I mean, there are artists that are fully blind that paint, and I was, and here's a good example, like, because, I mean, I like talking high level about stuff, but then it's also interesting to get specifics or details. So I was really curious, like, how the heck does this guy paint? And I think his name's John Bramblett, and he's famous. He gives workshops, like free workshops. That's his thing, is like, if he has a show in a city, any city, he plans like X number of workshops, and they all have to be free because he wants everybody to like experience. And he'll blind if people. They're not workshops just for visually impaired people. They're art workshops. So in some cases, like, I think what he does is he'll actually blindfold people to experience how he paints. And what he does is he makes he tries to visualize everything like color wise in his mind, because he was not born blind. He became blind, and his first thing he said was, I thought like images and visions were so connected to your eyes, but it's really your brain, because I still have all, he's like, I still have all the same images running through my mind, and I just want to figure out how to get them out. And so he would make, like, his white paint feels chalky. Oh, here Nancy's coming in. His black paint feels oily, and so he was using tactile, he was putting additives into his paints so that he can kind of feel. Hey Nancy.
Hey there.
How's it going?
Good. Sorry, my camera's on my laptop.
I was gonna say, you're in a dark room. Can't see it, but I can hear you.
Let me open it up.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, all right. Hey. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Hi.
Doing good.
Hello. Yeah,
Nancy, meet Susan. Susan, meet Nancy.
Hi, Susan.
Hey, Nancy.
Let me adjust my screen.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah.
We're in the thick of it, chatting away, and I definitely wanted, I was excited to get somebody to ding in, so you're a lucky winner. So thanks, nice. thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sorry to be late.
Yeah, no worries, man. That's life. I always I always wonder. Everybody probably has good intentions. Oh man, I'm gonna listen to the Zoom or join the Zoom call, and then like 1 minute later, they're like distracted doing something else. But that's why we record this stuff. Did Nancy? Did you catch? Have you? Well, you haven't caught anything, but the topic that we were trying to talk about today, right? Yeah. So I mean, we were just. Just to catch you up real quick. I went down a spiral, like giant rabbit hole of famous artists that had visual impairments, and it pretty much was like everybody in the history books had some sort of either physical impairment or mental or emotional. And I mean, just, limitation, I think, is like part of art making, and everybody has some limitations. And, specifically Susan was sharing last week, she has strabismus, which is, she doesn't have stereo vision, and just how that kind of plays out. And I mean, it's interesting. She just talking, or hearing how other people respond to that, and treat people that have that are different, or there's something different about them. And so it's just, I don't know, there's so many there's so many angles to go with this conversation. I feel like it's probably bigger than one Zoom call. But I think the big thing I wanted to do is to just clarify like the difference between trying to overcome a limitation versus embracing it. And I wanted to hear from other people about how, if they encounter something that they would deem a limitation in any regard, like, is it a battle to squash it and overcome it? Or are you trying to find a clever way to efficiently embrace it and incorporate it into your daily life and kind of go with the flow? And if you've been able to do that, what has been the outcome? How does it influence your artwork? Is it through inspiration or creativity or style? And I mean, we were talking about Egan Sheila, and I didn't know he had something called dystonia, which causes muscle contractions and abnormal postures. And when you hear that, you're like, that's his style in his art. And so the idea of art is a reflection of what the artist's reality is and how they see, or So I don't know, there's I just rambled for way too long, but I don't know if, I think it'd be cool to hear any, what are the like common limitations that you face? And of course, time is the universal one that everybody faces. But I was just, I think I'd like to, if you're willing, if you want to share, like, and I don't know if you need more thought or more time to think about like what that would be. But
Yeah, don't feel on the spot or anything.
yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just did.
Well,
You
for
don't have
sure.
to.
I mean, I think that, I hate to say it, but gender for sure is a limitation
Yeah.
in some things. I mean, like it really affects where I can go and where I can safely go.
Yeah.
For instance, like I won't go out at night.
Yeah.
There are some places I won't travel to just because, it's
Right.
not a cautious thing to do. Being short and being female, nowadays being Asian, it's like, oh, not
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as far as those limitations go, I mean, it really makes you think differently. For example, like I used to have like a theoretical math class, and one of the questions was, like, well, which way does the earth rotate? And I said, well, it really depends on which side which pole you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you're on one side, it's spinning, clockwise. But if you're on the other side of it, it's actually going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
it makes you think differently.
Right. Yeah. Which I think is definitely the point here. Oh man, I had a thought that I just lost. But I was going to say to Susan, one of the reasons why I was comfortable asking Nancy, or put her on the spot like that, is Nancy's Instagram is phenomenal, and she discusses pretty much every issue known to man and all the most relevant ones, and she does it in such a she's very good with words. I feel like her captions to her images are equally powerful as your art. So I mean that's what I've told you this stuff before, but like it's awesome that you and Susan and I were talking about that too. Like nowadays it's better I think everybody's more willing to embrace their quirks and just, their uniqueness, and to talk about issues more openly. And so Nancy's Instagram is the epitome of openly discussing issues.
What's your handle? Can I give a shout out? Your handle? What's your, if you want to?
Yeah, you should. Could you link to that in the chat?
I think.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll be right. I sound like a little engine that could.
But yeah, I think
limitations on freedom is that's a good one to bring up, though, for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of,
yeah, there we go.
Able to go where you want when you want. It's
Well, even at the grocery store, so they're the top shelves, the very top shelves. I can't reach them. I mean, so I usually have to bring a back scratcher, and that way I can just kind of knock it out.
Like a picker, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right off the bat, I just clicked on your number 33, shame, vanity, demon 33 is about exploring the symbiote. I mean, yeah, here we go. It's great stuff. I really like that.
Yeah. I'm worried it'll kick me off of this if my computer's not the best.
But yeah, I think it would be kind of cool. It would really be neat to have almost like a library of ideas, like just some massive collection of ideas for like, or like a giant spreadsheet. Here's the limitation. Here are the 100 ways to, cope with that. I mean, I'm just thinking, I guess like an engineer or like a programmer or something, and I know it's not that easy, but I think it would be, I don't know, I just think it would be interesting to hear from a lot of people about this topic.
Uh-huh.
And
You could do a Google Doc or something, like a live doc.
yeah, and right, and it would be, it would be a document that just, it's a living doc and it gets updated regularly, but it would be cool, and to go into specifics. Like, I think that's what I really like to hear, is like like very specific solutions to particular issues. And I was trying to think about myself, and I fall mostly in the category of like mindset and mental like just all the mind. I have every mindset issue you can name, so those are my limitations. But I just know that probably there are a lot of people that are creating, a lot of artists and creators and out there, and we're just not aware of what they're up against and what they're able to accomplish in spite of that. And when you find out what they're up against, it makes everything that much greater and more admirable. And I think it would be cool to just uncover that. And I'm glad that came up in conversation with you and me, Susan. Like, that was cool.
Most people don't want to make art. I mean, most people, I think, want to make art because they do feel some type of way that is unspoken, or most people come at it maybe from a less than healthy place,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
to sort of like come to some conclusion in their life, or to have questions answered. I've actually known a lot of artists that had childhood illnesses, and that were like taken away from their peer group for a period of time for some reason.
Right.
I've like maybe institutionalized briefly, or I've known a lot of artists that had kind of a rocky start in a way, and it separated them from their peers in a way. So I don't know, it seems like a lot of people kind of, that is their path into it. So, but it is a little bit unspoken and secretive and personal, I guess, too.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the hard part, is like, I understand if not everybody's like gung-ho about opening up and sharing, stuff like that. So it's a tough conversation, tread lightly.
One public art project I got to do a while back was I made art for a short-term psychiatric ward for teenagers.
Oh, wow.
That was so gratifying. That was an amazing project. And just it was a public hospital as well. So this is the only just for teenagers wing on the West Coast, a psychiatric ward of a public hospital. So there is actually like no support. They actually put them either in with the adults or in like the sick ward with like kids with cancer and stuff, if they're not violent. Like I mean, I don't know. So all that's changed. I think it's changing right now, but still it's like, I don't know. It was really amazing to create art for an audience, like, it's a captive audience, obviously. They're brought in with their will, but also just thinking about how there is more support for kids that, by no fault of their own, have issues. A lot of them are in foster care, abandoned by their families, have mental health issues. A lot of kids are in a foster home. It's like a way to dump kids if you don't want them. You can take them to the ER and say they're violent or something. But anyway, just the fact that they're even creating a wing like this, it's like there's one place for them to go now. There will be others probably in time. So I don't know. I just feel slightly positive that things are changing for the better. It just takes a long time. I don't know how that tied in. I mean, I guess just in terms of people sort of, coming in through difficult places, and it's nice they put art in there actually too. They didn't have to do that. So, someone decided that was appropriate and necessary. was nice too, that the kids are, you know, deserving of like a luxury, which art is a luxury object. So anyway, I don't know. I guess I feel like I think the conversations and culture things are changing really fast right now. It's scary. It's a scary time. It's exciting too, I think.
Yeah, Nancy, you had just, yeah, one of your comments in the club was, yeah, like time right now is a weird, it's just a weird time.
Like the 60s, I guess, or something, you know.
And every time you think you understand what the challenges are, there's always like something new coming at us, and it's like it feels unrelenting in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what you're saying, Susan, is true. Like, I mean, there will be something great that comes out of all this, you know. I just hope it doesn't wear off, because, you know, humans are dumb like that. Well, we just conveniently forget our past and repeat it over and over again.
But also people who have not historically had power now have more power too. And
Right.
I don't think we're not gonna
Right. Yeah, there are some things that we can't go back to, for sure. Huh.
So I hope people will feel more comfortable speaking up about when they struggle. I mean, you know, I hope that people come to art that way. I think that's beautiful. You know, it's definitely a place people can find, you know, some peace, I think.
I think back to what you were saying, you know, a lot of people come to art to, maybe they come to it from a difficult place, or it's a way to, it's almost like therapy. You know, the good thing, the nice thing about that, so I don't know how to phrase it differently, but is they have a really solid meaning that they're bringing to their work, which I think, you know, that's something else like I struggle with, because a lot of times, like, I feel like I've mostly come to art when I was younger just for the visual. Like, I liked to draw, and I like to look at things and look at other art, and that was mostly where I was coming at it from. So it is, you know, if you do if you're using art for the sake of communicating and sharing your experience with other people, and there's some message to it, I mean, that's obviously art that lasts a little bit longer. And, you know, you could look at it for longer. Yeah,
even if it's unconscious, I don't think it has to be, you know,
true.
illustrative of all that stuff either. It can be kind of hidden a little bit too. I think people can relate to those types of things, you know. I'm trying to think of artists who are a good example. Contemporary artists.
Because I mean, I guess either way, you're, you know, no matter what your motivation is, you know, you are still obviously projecting a lot of yourself into that.
Sure.
I'm trying to just.
I'm trying to, like, whenever you try to put your finger on a specific artist or something, it's like
blank.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
also,
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, also another topic is just that the limitations, the self-imposed limitations too, of like,
yes,
you know, a lot of artists I mean, you have to put limitations. How many of us have stood staring at the white blank page, and it's like this agoraphobic feeling of like being lost? You know, you actually have to put limitations on yourself too, whether it be time or you know, color palette or topic or subject matter, you know.
Yeah. Wow. I can absolutely relate to that. That's paralysis. I feel that.
And limitations are great in a way, actually. Like, they're very helpful. So like for me, I mean, I do aerial views of cities. I've been making that work 20 years. It's like, that's a big limitation in a way, you know. It's like, but then you find kind of this like spectrum within that genre of, you know, of a playground, you know. But I love the limitations of that in a way. It's like very comforting to have limitations. It's almost like, you know, like being swaddled. You know? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You know?
Well, because yeah, if you don't have limitations, you're facing an infinite void full of everything and nothing at the same time. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah, you don't want to stare into the void too long.
Yeah. But I actually like your I like that the word self-imposed. I think that's a good way to define that. That's where all the mindset ones kind of fall into for sure.
Yeah, you can control it too, which one like the
Right.
things that Nancy you were talking about, you know, freedom limitations. Like, yeah, you have less control over those. Those are exterior
Right.
situations that, you know, you can't control. So makes it more challenging.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if coming out of the pandemic, whether people feel like they have more limitations or less, you know, is there an extra burden that everybody's carrying, and I'm sure it's, you know, I don't know if there's a way to generalize it. I'm sure it's individual for sure, but yeah, I don't know how I would answer that. I'm not sure. I have to think about it.
I've been hearing a lot of people talking about how they're scared they're going to have to go back to the before time.
Yeah.
Like
well, you and I, hey, after our conversation after the talk last week, that was, yeah, I was still thinking, I think about that every day. It's like, God, I hope certain things don't go back. And I'm already, I realized I wasn't in a great mood. I think it was last week because I started to feel like life was returning to normal, like as far as the traffic and just the overall energy and the speed at which everything is going to pick up and resume. It's like, man, I don't want that stuff.
I know. Nancy, what do you think about that? Are you excited or are you a little hesitant?
I get my shot tomorrow night.
All right.
I'm kind of nervous about that though, you know, because I live alone. So I'm going to have my friend call me, you know, afterwards, you know, like, just make sure I'm still alive. But I do love being in line and knowing that somebody has to stand 6 feet away from you. I just love that. Yeah. It's like, I don't want somebody like crowding, you know, I just love that about the social distancing. It's like, yes, just stay away. And then at home, it's been working from home. It's been great. It's like, yes, I can stand up, I can stretch without somebody giving me shit for it. You know, it's pretty amazing because like, if you're a smoker and you go take a smoke break, nobody gives you shit.
Yeah, that's funny.
Right.
You stand up to stretch. They're like, oh, you need your break. I'm like,
it takes a lot of breaks.
So Nancy, there's a clear solution here. If you would pick up smoking, you wouldn't have a problem.
I know. It would solve so many things.
Are you going to have to go back to the office, do you think, or to wherever you're working?
Yeah, so I work for a junior college and they're talking about opening back up in the fall. Luckily, they're more on the cautious side because a lot of high schools are opening up.
I know,
already. But yeah, we don't open up until the fall, and they're asking like, do you want a plexiglass shield? Because I work with singers. The most spewiest of the arts.
Yeah, it's like a myth.
I know, and so
we had no idea before. We didn't know. They're surrounded by like a mist. There's like a unseen mist around singers. We had no idea.
Yes. I mean, I see everybody as aerosol propellant. Just like that drawing you did, Brian, right? Like of all the like germs coming out of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always gonna wear a mask, I feel like, when I'm like in like a public place. I remember going to a music show and I was standing with my friends and this man walked by, who was much taller than all of us, and he sneezed, didn't cover his mouth, And I guess it just rained on us. We all got sick.
Oh God. That's
Like, yeah, when I go like to shows or I'm on public transportation, I might wear a mask forever, right?
yeah, I'm
I don't
sure that
know.
you wouldn't be the only one. I'm sure
Yeah,
other
I feel
people
like
are.
I didn't know. I didn't know about the invisible mist surrounding singers. And now we know. Can you do like Fridays at home at least, or can you kind of negotiate something?
I think so. I really would like them to just do halftime, just to limit our exposure
Yeah.
of just being in these enclosed spaces, because the music building has no windows that open.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Because,
Oh,
they're trying
Yeah.
to protect
no.
instruments, and
Oh,
so
right. Oh,
that
for
part
the
of it really sucks.
acoustic.
And then
Yeah.
since I don't know if we're going to be able to have audiences, so I might still have to do the
Right.
computer work that I have been doing in addition to showing up in person. And I just said, just be aware that my time is I'm going to need that time
Yeah.
if I'm going to do this kind of hybrid situation.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be more popular, a work hybrid, where people are not going to go back 40 hours a week unless you're like in a service position,
Hopefully.
where
Yeah.
you have to be dealing with people. Because it just seems like, I feel like people will be happier. You have a better, more productive work life too. It makes sense,
Yeah.
that
If commutes are eliminated or reduced, that's
cleaner
yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. God, singers. Oh my God.
I mean, yeah. Like
You
Yeah,
better be
singers.
shot.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I am very happy that I'm getting the shot tomorrow night. I think it's going to be the Johnson & Johnson one, so I might not
Oh,
have.
it's
good.
just one. Okay.
Yeah,
Good,
I don't
good.
know if that
I
means
want to
it's,
get that one too.
yeah, I don't
I
know
mean,
if
I'll
it's going
take
to be more
whatever.
of a doozy. Well, because some people are talking about the second dose making them kind of sicker than the first
Yeah.
dose kind of thing.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law had that. She got like a fever
Mm.
with the second dose, but it wasn't. It was like 100-degree fever for a day. But I mean, I'll take it. I don't care. I'll take whatever.
Yeah.
I want my freedom back, but I don't think I want to go back to doing everything I was doing. I feel different for this. I
Yeah.
don't know. So we'll see.
I'm curious what it's going to be like, because I mean, when was when was the last pandemic? 100 years ago, and I don't
And
know.
nobody
Like,
ever
what is
talks
this?
about it again.
Yeah, like how is this going to be? How is this going to go down in the history books?
But that was
How
the thing
actually?
about the last one. Nobody talked about it. It was never
Yeah,
spoken of. We just went right into the roaring 20s without ever
yeah,
really talking about it. But it was a different time too, where people didn't really talk about the after effects of anything. You actually just powered through life.
yeah. Just move on to the next thing.
So I hope
Yeah,
we acknowledge all the loss too. I mean, we go back out, not just people who passed away, obviously people like a lot of people in my community have passed away, and I just see that, Facebook groups and things like that, shop owners, but also just like, I know a lot of people who've moved away and there was no going away party or anything. It just was like a goodbye on social media, and it's just
yeah.
going to be really different. A lot of people left Los Angeles, I think, more
Oh
than
yeah, even
I
this
know.
area. I'm in Sonoma County, and a lot of
Okay.
people just wanted to get away from the fires, and
Oh, sure.
yeah, they didn't want to deal with that year after year.
Yeah, that's not going to get better, probably.
Oh, because
Yeah,
even though it's raining today, we're still behind on our rainfall.
yeah, us too. Yeah, they were saying I'm actually working on a fire station project right now in San Diego, and I had a meeting with the fire chief, and they were saying fire season starting like now,
Oh my
which is like
gosh.
super early.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So, and that's not going to change, I think, too. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the way we live will be different enough where that'll improve.
Well,
But
it's
I can
tough
see.
because my friend and I, we just get so frustrated talking about limitations. There's like the limitation of money, Like whenever I watch Batman, I get pissed. It's like, he's rich. Fuck off, Batman.
Right.
Let's see somebody poor do some shit.
If
like that.
if you have enough money, you could be a superhero.
Fuck you, Batman. I love it. That should be the title of the next Batman movie.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Nancy sees the entire world
Love
around her with a slightly different lens, and it's so awesome. It's so good. Like, I love that criticism. I mean, I've had that thought before, but I don't know if I would have. It wouldn't have been the first. Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. Like, you just use such a. Yeah, it's a.
Oh,
I'm
now there are
glad you
children.
referenced-
I'll watch my mouth.
Yeah, I've got my earbuds. Yeah, that's great. That was yes.
Well,
Hi.
But it is expensive up there. I actually know people that have moved to the Midwest and like East Coast, like South Carolina, Tennessee, those areas too, because yeah, you can buy a house, you know, and I don't know like how that works out in terms of like, you know, culturally what their expectations are, you know, I don't know. It's all kind of, it seems like in flux, an experiment that's in flux, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I know I shouldn't probably move to Georgia.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But so back on the topic of like physical limitations, my piano teacher, she was born with some kind of hip issue. So she was in a wheelchair for most of her life. And so that led her, I don't know if that just, if she would have played piano anyway, but she's just an exceptional pianist.
Yeah.
And, you know, that kind of limitation, just like, well, yeah, you're going to do something where you sit a lot. I mean,
Right.
she's had surgery now, so she can actually get up and move around and walk, you know, but she's just an exceptional pianist. And that's just what that limitation actually just really steered her towards that.
Maybe gave her more time. She had more time too, in a way, you know.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, kids, we've lived in a time before internet.
Play a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. After. Sorry. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Mara, do you want to go downstairs? I'm almost done. Okay. Or do you want to sit here?
Just sit here.
You want to sit here? Okay. And Nancy is Marley can't hear you, but that's Nancy, and she got on the call. She wasn't on the call when you were up here last. It was just Susan and me. So now we have 3 of us. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry. Carry on.
No internet. So more time.
Yeah. Yeah, I really miss that.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to write stories and do so much more before I was distracted.
Read books for me.
Yeah.
I used to read a lot of books.
Well, and Susan, you could. We were talking about this, like growing up. Your parents didn't let you watch TV, and
Right.
that's, you know, that's one of those things where probably as a kid that wasn't fun, but in hindsight, you could probably attribute a lot of positive things to that. And
my brother's a filmmaker too.
Oh wow.
So
that's awesome.
part, you know,
Leave that there.
like definitely we were into like writing stories. We would write plays and act them out for our parents. And like we had our own money. We drew and we threw up in the air. That was like how you disperse it. We had a lot of like games and stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I do.
See,
I
that's
don't know.
more rare.
You can't go back. I mean, that's the thing. You can't. It's hard. I always go, well, I'll have a day without the phone, but it's really hard to do it, especially when you run a business and you have to check email, and I'm tied to it in a way. People expect me to respond to things. I don't know. I do miss those days. I'm glad I don't have to grow up now.
Oh, it's so complicated. Oh man. It's relationships
and they all want this like phones, and when they're young still probably, and then but it's best not to have it. I don't know. Complicated, probably.
It is, because then there's the, do you want your kid to feel different, or do you want, and for a good reason,
Right.
or do you want them to fit in and lose something along with everybody else? Yeah,
Right.
that
Everyone's
hurts.
socializing there all the
What
time.
happened
They're
to
missing out on
this?
that.
I hit my hand.
Time,
Yeah.
I know.
On
It seems
this.
like
Yeah.
kids don't like hang out together as much anymore, from what I hear. Like they're mostly on social media together, and
Yeah,
not so
that's
much
what I've
life.
heard that too, from
So
directly
weird.
from kids.
Yeah.
It's like
Like,
that,
can you
or
imagine? Like that was
no.
everything growing up, of just driving around or going to Denny's at midnight or whatever we used to dumb
Yeah,
things we used to do.
totally.
You know?
And
Like, can you imagine? You're just like, well, I'll just text you, and we'll like create a sim version of Denny's. We'll meet there. I don't know what people do.
yeah, I don't.
Kind of thing. I don't know.
It is a different world these days.
Yeah.
I know. I that's what I try to imagine. Like, well, what are these kids gonna? Yeah. what
They're gonna be like
what are they going to be like as adults, and then what are their kids going to be
telephoning
like oh gosh. Yeah. We try to balance things out, but I don't know, sometimes things get tipped in the wrong direction.
Although I have to say, going through this pandemic without the internet, can you even imagine that? That would have I mean, we all would have had to get like, I don't know how you can avoid it.
I can tell you what it probably feels like. Does anybody have HBO or access to HBO? Darn, I should give you my mom's login information, because that's the only reason why I have access.
The password.
There's a jazz musician that I didn't know of, named John Lurie, and he, I guess, is famous. I didn't know this, and he's probably in his he's got to be in his 60s maybe, and I think he got into he got into some weird stuff with somebody who was like stalking him, and I think he just like wanted to like just hide. And so he's been in seclusion for like 6 years, and he won't say where. I don't know where he is, but I think he's in Jamaica, just based on some of the things. But he has a show, like he has a new show on HBO, and it's each episode is only like 20 minutes, and it's literally him sitting in a dark room with a light on, and he's painting, and he paints these very intricate paintings, and he's totally like not trained in any way whatsoever. And you see his art, and you're like, what are you where is this coming? Where is any of this stuff coming from? And it's really, I mean, it's super interesting artwork, but all he does is he just tells stories. And sometimes the stories go somewhere, sometimes they don't go anywhere. But there's always a good quote in them. But anyways, it seems like I get the impression that he doesn't. It's like when I watch the show, it's almost like you're watching somebody who's been in solitary confinement for like a decade or so, and somebody gave him a camera suddenly, and an HBO special, and said, here, just do stuff. And it's like, it is the most dysfunctional, weird show, but I watch every single episode, and it's called Painting with John Lurie. I think that's what it's called.
We have to get HBO. Maybe it's time to do the free.
And yeah, it's so weird. And I get, back in the day, I think he had a fishing with John Lurie, and he'd have like a guest. Yeah. So he'd have guests on like Johnny Depp would be a guest. Yes.
In the 90s, it was on like IFC or it was like Independent Film Channel, or what was the other one?
And I
remember watching that like 90s.
so I didn't know anything about it, but I read because I was like, who in the heck is this guy? So I had to read all about him, and I read about that show, and I think what it sounded like is every guest he had on his show would leave pissed off at him because
Yes.
he would offend every single person he had on there.
Yes. He was like a curmudgeon.
Yes. Which I thought was great because like you should. I'm curious if you've seen those, then you have to watch at least one of
Oh yeah,
these
I'll
new
check
ones
that out.
and
I'll try
just
to find where.
see like,
I
yeah,
remember that show. And my brother had a friend, a filmmaker friend, that actually had a very short-lived show called from that Fishing with John show called Tripping with Cave, where he would take mushrooms with his guests. And I think they did shoot like 2 episodes, and it was like on some cable network.
oh, that's awesome.
It was the 90s.
It sounds like I would greenlight that
Cable
for
was still
sure.
growing. They needed content.
Oh my God, that's super funny.
But that guy's kind of a trip. So it's interesting. I didn't know it was the same person. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. He's been resurrected from his, he was banished. now he's relevant again. I don't know. But yeah, for him, he probably, my guess is he probably has zero clue that there's a pandemic. Like
Okay.
I get the feeling that his life has not been impacted at all.
I mean, mine's changed like 30%, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed that much.
Yeah.
I sit in this room and make stuff, and that's mostly what I do. I usually would go out on the weekends to go look at art too.
See, I haven't been able to
Dad,
do that.
Dad,
What's up?
can I watch my game?
What game do you want to watch? We're gonna
Skating with John.
here, Marley, watch this show.
Can I play a game?
Listen to this guy. But what's funny is he always has not right now because it's a school night.
Dad,
He still has really great quotes. I always want to write down
Dad,
some of his lines because they're so good.
Dad,
And his pacing, Marley, if you're okay, wait until after the call. We are gonna wrap it up though, and then you can tell me
Like,
something.
Dad, change the channel.
Yeah, these people are boring. I don't even know what she wants to watch. But anyways, yeah. So she should definitely not watch John Lurie because that dude's he's a slow talker, which again is intriguing. I mean, that's why you hang on every word. You're like, oh man, where's this going? Yeah, it didn't really go anywhere, but man, it seemed like it was exciting when he was talking. He just has a cool voice. It's raspy.
Are they like 20 minutes?
Yeah, they're
minutes?
super short. They're 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good length for that. I feel like. You can't do a real hour of that. I mean.
No way. No, you have to. Yeah, there's once the credits roll, you're like, whew, man. Hate it.
Even Bob Ross was like a half-hour show. I would say, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's essentially like, yeah, this is the antithesis of that. It's similar but different. Yeah, you're just watching some dude talk.
That sounds like a good pandemic.
Yeah, I think because it has a strange vibe and energy to it that's appealing in some way. Hi. Yes.
Yeah.
Can I play one game?
Oh my God, we're not playing games. You play games on the weekend. We're not playing any
Can
games.
I play one game?
Oh boy. Well, I think maybe this is the end. Okay, are you gonna say bye to everybody? No, you're gonna protest.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a wrap. But Susan, thanks for coming back. And
that's fun. Nice to meet you, Nancy.
Nice to meet you
awesome.
too.
Nancy, thanks for chiming in, and we'll see you
tomorrow
at some point. Hey Nancy, real quick, are you doing other submissions for the challenge, or okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, because it sounded like you were in the way you worded that, and I loved what you did. So anyway, we're doing Susan, we're doing that the challenge where you have to cut something up.
Oh, great.
And Nancy did a digital, it was super cool. She did an animation where
Oh, neat.
things were getting cut up, and of
Oh,
course there
awesome.
was a pretty good message behind it.
Great.
So,
And where is it going to be posted?
you know what? You could share it in the Nancy. You should just share it in the Facebook on in the group, because I
It's
think
also on my Instagram as well.
oh yeah, that's
your
true.
Instagram.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
I'm going to type in your Instagram
Can I
right
tell you
now.
something?
Yeah, it shows up though as the trouble is it shows up as a black square. It's your most recent post.
Yeah.
The thumbnail shows up black, so yeah, you just need to
Okay, no.
recognize
Dad.
it.
No,
Okay,
Make it-
guys.
All right.
All right. Well, I hope
Wanna write
everybody has a
down your
good night.
Instagram?
And
Okay.
yeah, man, stay healthy, stay sane. All right.
Yeah.
Good night, guys.
See you. Nice to
no,
meet you all.
Dad,
See you.
can I talk to
Bye.
you?
Bye.